I don't know where I am. I haven't even checked Google Maps. I'm halfway worried about my car. I don't know where I'm at. Look at this. So I'll keep glancing over at my car to make sure nobody like is gonna get me in trouble for being out here. I would assume that they put all this bullshit here so as to tell people don't come in. Does that apply to the weekends? Does that apply? Anyway, what was I gonna do? As it turns out, this is a perfect place to record. So, and I know it's kind of windy, so I'm raising my voice a bit. But I think this is a good setting. What do you think? What do you think? Come on now. Don't I look fitting? Don't I look so like, you know what I'm saying? Don't I look like I'm one with the Lord? The Lord is all around. I'm surrounded by the essence of the Lord. But my car is not. I'm worried about this wind too. I kind of want to check it. Looks like the audio is good, alright? Let's do it. You can actually cure anxiety. I really believe that. I believe that the cause of anxiety is in the spirit. I believe it is a misalignment of the mind and spirit. I think it might be partially something like concentrating too much of your energy in the material and thinking realms and not enough in like the feeling and faith realm, something like that. Ultimately, regardless of how you define it, anxiety is just an inability to have a control over your thoughts and your feelings. And in my opinion, and in my own anecdotal case, where I was able to get myself out of that chronic place, I used to have terribly bad overthinking. I used to have like actual nightmares, PTSD related to shit that I went through in the past. I used to be terribly antisocial, terribly depressed, terribly self-hating, all of that. I am none of those things today. I really, really, really believe that these are things that if you only understood the essence of them and if you only understood the higher realms where these things operate, it's not just chemical things in your brain, it's not just biological, it's not just psychological, it is something a little bit more abstract. I think that it is spiritual and I think that it is mental in nature, which I don't think is the same as psychological. I don't think that mental and psychological are the same things. I think they're different things. And I think you can take control of the entire process and live a life without that sort of thing haunting you. To the extent that it might remain, which I really don't think it has to, I believe it would be way, way, way more manageable. And I say this without medication. I stand behind this without like therapy, medication, any of that bullshit. I think all of this is ultimately putting a band-aid, because I don't think that our science, this is my opinion, but I really believe this, I don't think our science, I don't think our current understanding of the world, the nature of reality and consciousness and the human being and what we're capable of really, really, really is nearly as good as it should be for us to be talking as confidently as we do. Because a lot of our studies are based on materialistic, biological, when if we delve into ourselves, there's so much more information that's available to us that otherwise really, really, like, yes, it might be hard to measure materialistically, but I think if you really up your level of consciousness and you know yourself and you take the time to explore these realms, it becomes pretty undeniable that there is much more to the world than the material. There's way, 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 way more to the world than material, biological, psychological. There are entire other realms, and there's a level of control and mastery over yourself and your experiences and your circumstances and your life and your entire experience of reality that a lot of people, I just think that it becomes undeniable once you get there, once you see it for yourself, once you experience it, and once you explore it and come to understand it. So with that being said, I do think that anxiety is simply just a result of, I think that it can be, this is me personally, I think that it can be passed down genetically as well as conditioned over the course of our lives. I think obviously a lot of conditions that we have spiritually, because I think these things are sort of ingrained in our spirit and our soul based on previous incarnations. But that's a lot of nonsense. Let me keep it like more concrete for you. It's not nonsense once you get to that point, but you're not at that point, let's be honest. So let me break it down for you a little bit more. I think that in our body, in our spirit, in our DNA, there can be ingrained things from our parents. But I think, because I remember hearing something about some studies where like if you sort of work certain things out of you or develop certain things into you before you have a kid, that shit doesn't get passed down to the kid. If you have anxiety when you have a kid, the kid might have it. If you worked out of it or all sorts of things. Like, if you're just able to work out of certain things that seem to be permanent in you before you have the kid won't have them, right? But if the kid is born without them, it can develop them. What I'm saying is there's a lot of different ways where these conditions can be put into the body, into the spirit, that you might have to work out of them. But in the same way that they were at some point put in there over the course of our lifetime, we can learn to work them out of us. I really believe this. And so the first thing that I just want to say again as a preface is don't listen to other people. Do not let anybody, really do not let anybody else tell you. If you really believe this, and it's up to you whether or not you want to believe this, but I do believe this. So make your own decision, right? But I really believe this. You are in control of yourself. You are in control of your own mind, your own body, your own experience of the world. You can hijack the processes that automatically happen in your head, the conscious, the subconscious, the way things are wired in your brain, the way that you come to habitually view the world, your perceptions, everything, your experiences, your manifestations, whatever lens that you want to look at this as. I really believe, and I have come to know this in my own personal experience, that if you understand it well enough, and if you are conscious enough, you can take control of these processes and truly change your life forever. So anxiety is generally seen as sort of a chronic thing. A lot of people talk about chronic anxiety like it's something that you just have and that you're going to have to deal with and that you need to medicate. A lot of people see these things as chemical imbalances in the brain that lead to things. I don't believe that. I don't think that you should believe that. I think that if you're still at the point where you cannot operate without the medication, probably safe for you to stay on it, safer for you to stay on it and find a way to wane off it if you can learn to control these things and really get there. But if you're not at that like dire point where like you literally go manic without it, because at that point I think it might be something of like an addiction and the issue might be more multifaceted. But generally speaking, yeah, just anxiety is seen as something that's much more permanent and like ingrained in the body than what I think it is. I think to the extent that we are born with it, it can be worked out of us. I think to the extent that we developed it, it can definitely be worked out of us. Because in my opinion, I tend to look at things from a more spiritual, mental, abstract sort of way. Anxiety, as far as I understand it, is nothing more, like I mentioned before, than a lack of control of the spirit, the mental body. What happens is, I think it's a combination of a few things where, like, for example, one side of this might be that you, like, an anxious person might be way too ingrained into the materialistic world. The fact is, if you do not have some kind of faith in something outside of yourself, you are way more likely to be deeply chronically, terribly, uncontrollably scared. Why? Because if you look at things from a materialistic realm, anything could happen at any time and you might fuck around and die now. Me sitting out here doing jack shit, doing nothing, I might be genuinely scared for my life. Why? Because you never know what's gonna happen. This is because you don't understand the law of attraction. You don't understand the mental nature of the universe. You don't understand the Christ force that protects you at all times. If you understand all of these things, you realize that really, to be honest, as long as you are calm, relaxed, and present, and you're not holding anything in your mind and in your spirit that is actually going to bring harm to you, no harm is going to come to you. But because you are stuck in the material, you are stuck in the worldly, you are stuck thinking in these scientific terms that they let you believe that anything can happen to you at once, anything can come after you. Yo, be scared. You never know what's going to happen. Of course you're going to be scared all the time. You don't have a choice. You have to be scared all the time. But if you look at it more from a spiritual lens, like I said, if you understand the law of attraction, manifestation, the law of growth, the mental nature of the universe, all of these things, you realize what you hold inside of yourself is what you attract around you. And that's just one side of it, right? That's like that's one side of being able to look at anxiety. Another one is you have no control over your mental faculties. You are weak as fuck. Mentally, oh my God. You know how weak you have to be to let your thoughts get out of your control for a trigger to come into your mind, possess it, completely take control over your mental and let it run down somewhere, and it starts in the mental, it pulls on your emotions, and it completely possesses you entirely, and then you get trapped in this thought loop. That is a sign of a terribly low level of self-control. You need to be able to learn to be conscious of your thoughts. You need to be able to separate from your thoughts. You need to be able to stop them, redirect them, reject certain ones, accept other ones, and move in this sort of way. And the same thing applies, this is the other way that you can look at it, is a lack of control over your feeling. Because what tends to happen is a thought is presented to us, a thought that induces fear. You know, thoughts are more like entities in the abstract. You can tune them in or you can tune them out. And it is a real skill to be able to do this. A thought enters your consciousness. Your body responses in a fear response because that is the way that it has been programmed. It has been programmed in a state of lack, in a state of fear, in a state of danger. Anything can happen. This has been programmed into your body, into your spiritual body, your mental body, physical body, all of that. So when these thoughts occur to you, they possess you. And you not having the consciousness to be there and control them and be like, whoa, no, relax the body, keep the mind conscious, redirect, no, and reprogram that thing, you get swept up in the loop of it. Thought enters your body, fear response happens, triggers more anxious thoughts happening, the loop happens, it feeds into itself and it becomes extreme. Is that not how anxiety happens? Is it not that you are constantly in a looping fear state and that never stops? Your body is constantly in flight or fright mode. Let me tell you what happened. If it's something that developed, more than likely it's something that developed as a kid. Something happened to you as a kid and you were never the same since. You've been scared, you have panic attacks, this, that, and the third. Yo, something probably happened, it made you scared. Your body didn't know how to respond to it, your mind didn't know how to process it. Your body stood in a permanent fear response. You don't know how to hijack that fear response. So what's going on is you're always in that fight or flight. You're always looking for danger. You're always scared. You're always, oh, what if this, what if this, what if that, what if that, what if that? That paranoia feeds an anxious feeling in the body. That body gets tense. That tense body produces anxious feelings. Those anxious feelings tug on more thoughts because your feelings, that's the magneticism, right? Your thoughts program it, your feeling attracts it. That's why you need to align it. And the willing kind of like, you know what I'm saying, brings it into being, something like that, right? So you need to hold it in your mind. Eventually, if you hold something in your mind, your body will produce the feeling of it. If you can keep your body relaxed and in alignment well enough, it'll sort of produce that feeling. That'll produce the magneticism, and if provided that you're willing the right thing in the world, that thing comes to you, right? So what happens is these anxious thoughts are constantly happening. The body is programmed with fear. It is tense with it. It is producing anxious thoughts because these two things are linked. And because these two things are linked, now you're stuck in that thought loop. Now you move through the world in this anxious way. You probably have a lot more bad things happen to you than most people. I'm gonna be honest with you. If you're a very anxious person, you probably experience more anxiety inducing things than other people because your mind is tuned into it. People that don't experience that much anxiety, they don't even see them. They don't even see the things that produce anxiety. They don't exist in their sphere of reality. They can't be anxious because there's nothing to be anxious about. They don't even see it, bro. And because they don't see it, it really doesn't affect. And to the extent that anything might happen, and they're able to deal with it much more effectively. So this is the blessing of not having that problem and the curse of having it, really. And a lot of anxious overthinking people always be like, oh, but I be right. Gang, you be making yourself right. You don't even fucking know, right? So what you want to know is how to take control of this process. You really want to know how to take control of this process because, like I said, it's a self-feeding loop and it's a loop of misery. You don't want to live in that. So I'm going to tell you how to take control of it. I'm going to put you on game real quick. 1, 2, 3, done. Ready? You need to become more conscious. This is way easier said than done. You need to become more conscious. You need to be able to see the thoughts when they come up. You need to, when that panic comes up, when that anxiety comes up, when that wells up inside of you, you need to stay awake because what happens is it possesses you and your mind just starts running down that path too. You need to be able to internally go like this. No. You need to be able to do that. Way easier said than done. But if you can practice it, if you can get it done, that's step 1. Step 2, you need to be able to relax your body. A tense body is going to produce 10 thoughts 10 out of 10 times. That's a bar. Tense body gonna produce 10 thoughts 10 out of 10 times, nigga. If you cannot control your body, if you can't relax it, if you can't get yourself at least physically in a zen state and mentally clear, that's the other thing. You need to be able to be conscious of your thoughts, conscious of your bodily state. You need to also, this is very important, you need to be able to stop your thoughts and you need to be able to redirect them. This is probably the hardest part that anybody can do. Now, on a more advanced level, you also need to be able to let go of the things that fucking hurt you because that's probably also what's like reinforcing that fear and that anxiety within yourself. I would say that's one step more advanced, but as far as just taking control of the mechanism, you need to be conscious, you need to have control, at least enough to stop your thoughts and relax your body, and then if you can redirect them, that's better. And what's gonna happen is this, it's gonna pop up, anxious thought, boom, you go psych, no, relax into the present moment, really take control of yourself. If you can redirect the thought, you start redirecting it in a more like safe, freeing, sort of like non-attachment, letting go kind of way. Because a big issue of anxiety also is that you're always grasping at things way too heavily. Like you're grasping for a control that you do not have and you cannot have. This is why knowledge of the spiritual is so important, because you can't control everything. You can't, but you know what can? God, your higher self, wherever stage you're at to understand it at now, there are forces much higher than you, or that you are connected to much deeper, that sort of align things for you. And until you understand that, you're going to be stuck in this materialistic frame of mind that leaves you in constant paranoia, because you can't control everything, bro. You cannot. And the more that you like really try to, the more unhappy and desperate you're going to be living, just existing. And that's no way to live. So yes, that's how you take control of the process. And yeah, so I guess the last thing I want to tell you is what happens when you do this. When you take control of this process, when you start to control your mind, when you start to redirect your thoughts, control your body, all of this. You can look at this on many different ways, right? Now, if you're familiar with the conscious subconscious, which I mentioned in every motherfucking video I do, what's happening is the conscious mind is reprogramming the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind controls everything that you think, everything. Like, I always say it like this, it's the lens through which you view everything. If you are pessimistic, that's because your subconscious mind has been programmed to view things that way. If you are pessimistic, if you are optimistic, same thing. If you are somebody who believes you to be lucky, that's the same thing. Unlucky, that's the same thing. Capable of certain things, that's the same thing. Incapable, somebody who is wealthy or unwealthy, somebody who's loving or unloving, somebody who's creative or uncreative. You can program the belief of all of these things within yourself. And in doing so, you completely change the way that you experience being alive. That is a very precious thing. Cannot be understated. That's a very, very, very precious thing. That is on the mental, more abstract level. Your conscious mind, because any habitual thoughts that come up in your mind, your mental habitat, your general predisposition in the world, the way that you move through the world, the way that you carry yourself, all of that is programmed into your subconscious mind. That's why people who are super confident or funny or charming or impulsive or spontaneous and magnetic, all of these things, they just don't have the programming in them to be doubtful. Good news is you don't have to either. So that's probably on the more that's in the middle of like concrete and abstract, would be that level there. On a more like scientific neurological level, very simple. You're training new neural pathways. Neural pathways strengthen every time they fire. All you need to do is be conscious enough to redirect those neural pathways. Consistently repeat certain thought patterns, certain thought loops, you're connecting new neural pathways associated with each other, different associations, all of them, except these ones are based on strength, they're based on faith, they're based on optimism and luck and courage and all of these things and strength, so that your brain automatically, habitually, normally thinks like this, acts like this, believes this. That's the neurological way, right? And then in a more spiritual sense, I would say you are realigning your different spiritual bodies or something like that. You're coming into knowledge of higher worlds, Rudolf Steiner type shit. I haven't read a lot of Steiner, but from what I understand, it might be something like that. And so yeah, so this is what's happening. And so this is why I say you can cure anxiety, bro. You can cure it. It's not something that you need to live with. It's not none of that. It's a simple matter of reprogramming your unconscious mind, reprogramming your physical body, recreating new neural pathways, and all of that simply comes from having a level of consciousness and control of your internal, bro. If you can redirect your thoughts and your feelings, you can keep your body relaxed and in alignment. If you can move in that exact direction, and if you can maintain that throughout the day, you can program that shit right out of you, bro. I just put you on to some crazy fucking game, nigga. I just changed your life, nigga. Subscribe, bitch. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. I got coconut water. I'm gonna try it, and I bet it's gonna be ass.